Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper, and thank you so much for stopping by my channel. We're going to put together a really quick card today, so get comfy and let's get crafty. So this is the paper I colored in this week's Crime and Coloring episode. It is a lily stamp by Altenew. It is a Simon Says stamp Altenew collaboration for the 2022 Stamptember celebration that Simon Says puts on every year. I will also be using some pattern paper and a green cardstock for card base and this really old Mint Owl Sentiment stamp set. It's one of my favorite stamp sets because it has stamp sentiments that go across the whole part of the card without taking up the entire front of the card. I mean, it covers just about everything. First thing I'm going to do is score my cardstock in half to create my card base. This is a top folding A2 size portrait style card. This is, I think, a Stampin' Up! Cardstock. It could be my favorite things. I have greens from both companies, so I'm not sure. I want to cut this little heart pattern paper down with my A2 layers dies, but I'm not sure exactly which rectangle I want to use because I want it to be just larger than this flower. So I'm going to go ahead and use the coordinating die, there we go, that I purchased with this stamp set to cut this out. I'm going to go ahead and tape that down with some painter's tape that I've kind of tried to take the sticky off of so that it doesn't tear my paper too much. Well, or tear my paper at all. If it's going to tear the paper, I want it to tear the paper on the not image side, right? Sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained today. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tape the die over the image on the cardstock, and then I'm going to send it through my die cut machine. I use a Spellbinders Platinum die cut machine. It's a little bit too big to do any die cutting on camera, at least without changing my camera setup. So I'm going to go ahead and send that through the die cut machine and remove the cutout from the backing and start to figure out how big to cut down my pattern paper. I love this lily stamp. It is huge. It fills up the whole front of the card, and lilies are one of my favorites. They're not my favorite. We all know that's tulips, but I also love these lilies. I have some in the front of my house, and they get taller than me before they finish blooming. I did color these in kind of that orange to purple thing, which I love. And if you want to catch the coloring, go check out the creme and coloring video from Monday. Okay, so now I know that I want to cut the pattern paper with this die. It's going to create a layer that is about 4 inches by 5 1/4, I think. I didn't measure. It was really funny when they first came out with these dies. I thought, oh, that's so silly. Why would I buy rectangle dies? Because it's just math. But when you don't know what size mat you need because of the size of the image, these dies kind of come in perfectly handy. So I love it. I use them frequently. All right, so I've gone ahead and put that pattern paper through my die cut machine, and I'm going to go ahead and start lining things up. It did tear just a little bit at the top, and I was going to flip the paper down, but then I realized the hearts would be upside down, and that's just weird because I am going to make this an anniversary card, and upside down hearts would be a little, not anniversary-ish. I am going to use the scrap of paper and my Misty stamp positioner to stamp my sentiment on. And as you can see, this is just the extra that was left over from my lily stamp. And I'm going to pull out my sentiment. I am going to send this card to, I have a brother and sister-in-law who have an anniversary coming up. So I'm going to send this card to them, I think. Most of the time when I create cards for people, I do it off camera. I don't all the time know who I'm going to be sending the cards to when I create the video for that card. But this one I kind of already had in mind because their anniversary is coming up, and I really loved how this lily turned out. And then I had that perfect heart pattern paper, and well, it just kind of came together that way. All right, so now it's just time to put this all together. But I want to pop up all the things, I think. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of a border to my sentiment. It felt like it was a little bit underdressed. That's a good phrase. It was underdressed. It looked fine, but it felt underdressed. And part of that could be that the pattern paper is actually a cream or an off-white, and my sentiment is stamped on a white cardstock. So that could be why it kind of felt a little bit underdressed as well. But by adding a green layering mat to the sentiment strip, it won't matter that they're not the same color of paper. At least when it was all said and done, I didn't think it mattered. I'm just using my Fiskars trimmer here to kind of eyeball the dimension on this. I do like this trimmer because of the wire guide. I can really tell where I'm going to be cutting that paper, and I can get the thinnest margins around my sentiment strip. Don't want it to be super outlandish, just a small green border so that it kind of looks like it's more well dressed for the event to go along with that whole underdressed thing we've got going on. Okay, time to start assembling. I am going to use my ATG gun to add some double-sided adhesive to the back of my card mat. I'm going to make sure that I have the top of the card base and the top of the pattern paper both going the same direction so that everything gets assembled correctly, because it would not be the first nor the last time that I put a card together upside down. I do want to pop up this lily, so I'm going to pull out my brand new roll of 3M foam tape. This is the gigantic roll, as big as the size of my head when it's brand new, and I am going to adhere foam tape to the back of this lily, and don't worry, I will not make you watch all of that. I will add a couple of pieces, trim them down, and then I will go ahead and edit all that out because you don't want to watch that. And there you go. Now you can see that I've got just a couple more pieces of backing paper to take off, and this lily is ready to go on the front of our card. Because there is foam tape all over the back of this flower, it is hard to hold on to and put into place. And I'm working on my glass work surface, which I love, but my pattern paper slides all over, or my card is sliding all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this up with my reverse tweezers, because then I can hold my card base or my card in place and get the flower on there straight at the same time. And by straight, I mean crooked, because obviously it's not straight up and down, but that's how it's going to fit on my card, and that's how I wanted it. I am going to go ahead and put a little bit of double-sided adhesive on the back of my sentiment strip, and I will use my tweezers to hold that in place as well, because like I said, these sentiments from the Mint Owl stamp set go all the way across the card, so I'm going to need to be able to hold that card still again as I place this down kind of just over the stem and that bottom flower. I could have put it down a little bit lower, but then I felt like it looked like an afterthought. So in order to kind of fill up some of that blank space without filling, without going overboard, I've pulled out some sequins. Now, it has been a hot minute since I used embellishments regularly on a card. Like, I think the last time I used embellishments all the time was when buttons and ribbon sliders were uber popular. So, like 10 years ago. Yeah. But I have tons of sequins and confettis and just cool embellishments that I need to use. They're in my stash. My kids don't want to inherit those, right? I mean, there's a lot of things they might want to inherit, but I doubt it's my stash of sequins. So I really have got to start using these things a little bit more. So I am going to add 2 groups of sequins, and I'm going to put 3 sequins in each group. So while I technically have an even number of embellishments, I actually have 2 numbered sets. I'm allowing my brain to have its way. I have an even number of things, and I have a visually pleasing odd number of things all at the same time. Because sometimes fighting against my brain is a lost cause. It just makes me crabby. And while my creative side of my brain wants it to be visually appealing, the logical, symmetrical side of my brain wants it to be logical and symmetrical. I have the worst time planning flower gardens. Like, I want a whole bunch of colors of flowers in my gardens, and I want tall ones and short ones, and then I cannot ever figure out where they need to go. I usually call my kids over and say, okay, put the tall ones in the middle and work out, and then I plant them wherever the kids drop them, because I want to put all the pink ones around the outside edge, and oh my gosh, it's a nightmare. But anyway, so this is how I control my brain and its infighting. I have 2, which is an even number, sets of embellishment groups that are 3 in each group. So there you go. Short story long, there are our beautiful embellishments. I need to go ahead and put a piece of copy paper, there we go, on the inside of my card so I can write a nice message before I send this card out. And just so that you know, I'm completely and totally weird. I have sent blank cards in the mail before. Yep, I have done that. All right, so here is a close-up of the card. Super fast video, especially since I'd already colored the lilies. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and let me know how you feel. Thanks for hanging out for the whole video. I have a couple of other videos here I think you would enjoy, as well as a subscribe button. If you have not subscribed to my channel already, I would love it if you did so. And I hope you have a really fabulous day.